Welcome to the Daylight Sin. So come on in. Get your shine on, baby. Get your shine on, baby. Get your shine on, baby. Hey, we gon' talk about everything and nothing. We gon' share some love, share some tears and laughter too. That's how we do it in the Daylight Sin.
Come on in. Well, welcome back. I decided to go ahead and do another conversation. As you know, this is the Daylight Stand where we talk about everything and nothing, and I'm gonna just ramble a little bit if you don't mind. Well, if you are anything like me, you have many ideas that are running through your head all day, paired with things like the day-to-day things of life. So I did type this out a little bit just because I wanted to kind of have it together a little bit, which I'll kind of get into while I'm talking as well. But I'm also remembering that I can also just speak from the heart and flow. But sometimes I do like structure. I do like having an idea of like where I want to take things. That being said, sorry, I got a notification that I completed my May challenge. Lovely. Anyways, as I said, if you're anything like me, you have many things running through your head all day. Like just now, this doesn't take much to throw you off. Um, but the day-to-day things like trying to remember, to do the dishes or responding back to text messages, wondering if you watered your plants this week, or just simply thinking of when would be a good time to take a nap. It can be a lot to manage. And we're often, looking for a way to let our creative parts of us flow freely while trying to juggle all of this as well, which is just life. Um, but I wanted to share how um oftentimes like I'll have an idea, but I'm maybe not in a place to like write it down immediately. And so sometimes I try to think about it over and over and over so I don't forget it and I'll remember how I want to phrase it or say it or sing it this way or do whatever. And then some days I don't want to think about it over and over. So I don't try to forget, or I do try to forget about it, but trying not to think about it in that sense because I know I'm not in a space to write it down or like work on it. So I try not to think about it so that way more ideas and thoughts don't rush in. Because I know it's great, but I want to be able to actually focus. But since I'm unable to do that, yeah, that doesn't happen. And then I have nothing. Or by the time I'm home and can work on it, I just want to lay down. Or I don't remember the thoughts at all until I'm back up and out doing something else that's occupying my brain and time. So, but truly, like when I think about it, I begin to think about all that I really juggle from day to day. Like, I'm a recording artist, I'm a life coach, consultant for some things, I'm an actor, all while doing Amazon Flex or DoorDash and Uber or really anything that will allow me the flexibility that I like to give me the space and time to do the things that I love. But the other thing that I'm being reminded in this time, as I mentioned earlier, of kind of wanting certain things to be a certain way, um, while I try and hold the thoughts in, I also lose a lot of it because while thinking about um, the idea, I'm also trying to figure out how to put it in a format to have a conversation or how to speak on it for the podcast or maybe a book idea or a song or whatever. And I try to formulate the structure instead of allowing the thoughts to flow freely, and just reorganize them and restructure them later. But in that moment, like when I was thinking about this earlier, the thing that comes to mind is this quote that talks about how the idea of perfection or the thing of perfection will rob you of progress. Um, and I know that's probably not the way that it's actually written or stated, but it just makes me think about it in this way that we lose any possibility of any progress towards anything if we're automatically trying to think about what's the most perfect way to do it. Whether it's career goals, physical goals in the gym, or finances or whatever, we just don't always give ourselves the ability to explore and just see what happens. um there's like this mental switch that comes on that's like, well, if you're gonna do it, it's got to be right. um but all of that to say, and to be very frank here, what I'm reminding myself is, and saying all that is, to just fucking do it. You can perfect it later. Mom, if you're listening to this, sorry, but it is what it is. Um, but truly, like, you can perfect it later. So it's just a matter of just doing it, which takes me back to a principle that I followed a lot of my life up to now. Well, not up to now, because I still try to. But anyways, I've held this dear to my heart of a saying that I've often said is, don't think, just do. Sometimes the thinking of it can rob us of actually doing. We get so caught up and overwhelmed in the thinking process of how to do this or how to do that, that we miss out on the doing. We spend a lot of time and we get overwhelmed in that. And I'm trying to remember that. And it's crazy being that I've always said this, but now I'm on a different level of, or a deeper level of this thing evolving in my life. And I think that's a thing that I think about now is um not being hard on myself, because I'm like, I should know this. I've always said this. This is my thing. But yeah, it's just understanding that life comes and does what it does, and it's okay to have to be gently reminded of these things. Don't think, just do. Um, Now, if you're also like me, I'm finding that in my 30s, and this is a pep talks conversation that I did, I think, with Tisha or Renee. Um, One of the pep talks conversation was safety versus risk, or I think it was the title. But how I'm finding in my 30s, it's a matter of like, I am wanting to be a little more calculated, or a little more like, oh, let me make sure this kind of lines up this way to do this and that, instead of how I was in my 20s, where it was just like, fuck it, just do it. Let's go. Like, I'll think about how to figure it out later, but I'm going to start. And which makes me think about this next section I wrote out here was um, remembering that part of just saying, reminding myself and you to just fucking do it. You can perfect it later. When we think about our favorite TV shows, our favorite podcasters, our favorite artists, whatever, everything starts with a pilot. It's the beginning of things, and that initial layout to simply fuck around and find out. Just seeing what happens. Like, when we think about it, would they ever be what they are now, and or what we know them to be? And of course, probably would be, and of course they would be. But would it be what it is if they would have gotten caught up and stayed thinking about episode 1000 or 800, or just whatever? So thinking so far ahead that you just can't be present. Um, well, granted, the thoughts of future things come, but we'll never be able to get to the 100th episode if we don't ever start with the first one. And often, and especially in a line of production and things, we do tend to get caught up on like the style or the image or sound quality and all those different things. When in reality, what I'm recognizing now is that the beautiful thing is just being able to do it, and just looking back and recognizing that it may not have started off as what most people may consider the best, but what matters is that you did it. And again, that's to me what I'm redefining now is perfection. And thinking about that word redefine, that's a thing that is interesting that has been coming up in a lot of conversations lately, is to redefine things. And let's take a break. All right, so before in the break, what I remember saying was redefining things for you. And this is where I get to flow because I don't have anything structured for this part. So redefining is in the way that it's been coming up in conversations recently is just being able to redefine like what things mean for you or what they are. And I think one of the things that even talking about now while thinking about like production and doing the podcast and things like that, what I get to redefine is sometimes I can have the balance of having something structured and then having a free flowing thing. And knowing that's okay and not having to feel bad or feel confused, or it's basically what I'm thinking now of redefining is that it's deciding what works for you. Um, and that may change day to day, that may change weekly, that may change monthly, but we get to take that time and decide how we want to redefine those things. And this also kind of goes into some other things that I've been dealing with, which I'll definitely share more on later. But one of the things that I will say is that having to be in a place to redefine life and the approach to life and all of those things. And for example, this is why I like the structure, so I can kind of have the thoughts there. But basically just looking at things of, and I guess I'm trying not to get into it too much, being that I'll have a separate episode or conversation for this. However, to get into it, it's recognizing that one of the things that I recently had is that I probably know that most of you saw that I did make a post about possible eviction that I've been going through and dealing with. But what I've been able to redefine is that even in that, one of the things I've often said since I turned 30, and one of the things I've been able to realize is that this has been some of the most chaotic times of my life, but also the most peaceful time. And anybody that's talked to me recently know that I'll say that a lot, and I've said that a lot, is that this is the most chaotic but the most peaceful time of my life. And I've recently also been saying that life is like a roller coaster. It's understanding that some days it's up, some days it's down, and some days you'll just get twisted all around, be turned every which way but loose. But it's recognizing that, again, I get to redefine this. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I am 30. I'll be 33 this year, and recognizing that I often tell people too is in your 30s, baby, shatter the glass of what you expected your life to look like. Even if certain things aren't going the way that you thought or expected, there's just going to be some twists and turns that will not throw you off in a bad way, but it'll throw you for a loop. But when you're able to shatter that glass and redefine what this life means to you and what it looks like for you, it is an interesting thing to deal with. One of the things that, quite frankly, I'm enjoying. I get to give myself the grace and the space to learn and do things because, yes, at this big age, I've never been 32 before. And so, and that, even just saying that, makes me think about these themes that I've been doing each year while in my 30s, and how that 32, the theme was 30 true and 30 choose. And what hit me, and I actually think I thought about this maybe at the top of the year or something like that, but what has made me think about is that these themes showing true in my life, where even to just think about 32 being 30 choose and 30 true is I'm redefining what life looks like for me in these moments where I get to choose peace. Sure, I can get caught up in the chaos of things in these life lessons that I'm learning, but I'm choosing peace. I actually texted my best friend the other day when I got the call about the possible eviction and things like that, and I was like, I've had time to cry and think and do things, because some things, that it just may be a possibility, and we tend to overstress and things like that. But being, again, 30 chooses, I get to choose peace. I can choose the chaos. I can choose to be stressed, and now I am seeing more gray hairs pop up everywhere. However, again, that's wisdom, right? But in choosing is, I get to choose how I respond to this, and I choose the peace. I choose to again, just be peaceful. Like, I've spent 20s stressing and worrying and doing things that, doing whatever I can to try to make ends meet. And now it is a thing where I can peacefully just be like, you know what? Hey, let's see what happens. And also thinking about it in that terms of 30 true is being true to myself, knowing what I want, knowing what I don't want, knowing what I like, what I don't like. Even figuring out what I like and don't like. It's so, again, being able to redefine what these things mean for us and what they look like. And to me, it's a wonderful thing to experience. And um that's kind of all I got for right now. Again, I'll share more about these other things later, as I've had a few conversations with people. And yeah, I'm gonna save all that for later, because I'll y'all know I'll keep talking. But to wrap it back up, thinking about these 2 points of doing things. See, here I am trying to think about what this title is gonna be, but reminding self of, don't think, just do, and then to redefine. And these may be points that I'll kind of expound on a little bit later as well. However, this is where we are. So recognizing that, again, you get to redefine what life means to you. You get to redefine the events of life and the things that happen and how you respond to them. And the other thing is remembering to just fucking do it. You can perfect it later. So, as usual, as a close, be radical, be daring, be you. No one else can be you but you. Much love and peace.